So I was asked a really interesting question yesterday. I had someone ask me, Danny, do you believe that God brings us our spouse? And thinking about the answer, it really like led my mind in a different direction. I believe that God gives us the gift of choice. He gives us the gift of choosing our spouse and gives us free will. I think that through Jesus's teachings, that he hopes that we use those tools, to choose a suitable mate. But here's the thing: it's like, what makes that mate suitable? And that's what led me into thinking about being equally yoked. Now, before you change this channel, because I already know what you're thinking, because I'm telling you right now, anytime I would listen to sermons or anybody talking about being equally yoked, that little guilt inside was like pitter patter, and I would get up and leave because I didn't want to hear it. Because I think a lot of us who are single and Christian are living in disobedience. But just please, like, hold on and just try to get through this message with me. I know it's something that we don't want to discuss, and I'm going to keep it real. If anybody's going to keep it real and have something to say about this, I surely do, because I have dated plenty of people who were non-believers, or some were actually believers, but just were not, had no connection with God, and that still can be unequally yoked. But it is something that is really important as believers that we have to discuss and accept and understand if we really want to be fruitful in our lives and we really want to grow spiritually, and to be spiritually mature and have what God has for us and who He has for us. I know it's something that's difficult in this day and age, because there's just not a lot of believers and not a lot of us out here. But I tell you, it is better to stand true to what we know and to wait for the right person than to continue to damage yourself by going through these relationships with people that are ultimately going to lead you to a dead end. I know it's something that we don't want to hear. I especially didn't want to hear it. I'll tell you right now, I am shallow. That's something that I can admit. I can be very much into looks or how someone carries themselves. And I just remember, like, and this has been a long time since I've done this, but, desiring to be in a God-centered relationship and, like, jumping on christianmingle.com. Have y'all been on christianmingle.com? Oh, my goodness. I don't want to sound like brash, but it is bleak. It is bleak on there. I mean, I was seeing a whole bunch of men that loved Jesus, but they also loved Dungeons and Dragons. And if you don't know what that is, then good Lord, I don't know what to tell you. But, jokes aside, and it's not a joke, that's the truth. It's just the reality of it. I think it's just the world that we live in today. And depending on, what region of the nation that you live on, it really can be difficult. I'm from Miami, living in Denver now, and that has been such a huge culture shock for me. A lot of people have even asked me, has it been more difficult, or was it more difficult maintaining your faith in Miami? And the answer is no. It actually is more difficult here in Denver. And the reason that I say that is just culturally, being down in Miami, I'm amongst a lot of people who are from South America or who are from the Caribbean. And these people, what they hold true to their hearts, their foundation is God and family. And that's what's most important. So coming to Denver was different because there's not a lot of believers here. Don't get me wrong, there's some great churches here that I've have listened to some great teachers and who I've learned from, but there's not a lot of believers here, and there's a lot of alternative lifestyle and ways of thinking and religion that just really don't coincide with my value system and my foundation. So in living here for 5 years and being a single woman wanting to get married, I have compromised myself, my soul, my body. Like I said, I'm gonna keep it real here. My body and my relationship with God for the sake of wanting to be with someone. And ultimately, it got me nowhere because it always led to a dead end. So let's just be honest here and let's talk about what it is that is going to get you there faster. What it is that is going to make you complete and happy and be whole. We don't like to think about it this way, but each relationship that we're in with a non-believer that takes us further away from God, that damages our spirit, that damages our heart, and it damages the intentions that God has for our life, which is, fruit, love and understanding and compassion and prosperity and all of these wonderful things. And when we think about a spouse, what God wants is for us to look for the things that are in his character. And how do we do that if we don't have a relationship with God? How does the other person know to give you that if he has no connection or she has no connection to God? And what God is compassion, unconditional love, patience, virtue. Just there's so many different beautiful traits that are of God, and the ultimate goal for us is to mimic and for us want to be Christ-liked. So it's really important that we honor ourselves and honor God through choosing a mate that has a heart for God. One thing that's really important to remember is that when you are in a God-centered relationship, you get stronger. And you get stronger through your faith, because when you have two people who believe the same and two people who are completely different individuals and come from different walks of life, what do you have? What does this person have and what do you have? You have different experiences and different experiences in your faith and spirituality where you can grow and learn with each other and become, your faith becomes stronger in that. Being able to pray with that person, prayer is so important and powerful, and I don't think people realize how important prayer is. The thing that I think about most when I think about being in a marriage, I think about sandpaper. I think about, this side is rough, this side is rough, and the goal is to smooth something out. So when you have one person that knows, I'll just go back to what I just said, that knows something that you don't, and this person teaches you this, and vice versa, and you're doing this, you're smoothing each other out, you're growing together, you're becoming stronger, your mind is expanding, your heart is expanding, and you're passing that down to your family. Your children are seeing what a real marriage should model after. Your children are seeing unity. Your children are seeing unconditional love, and that passes on, through generations. So having, the same spiritual heritage is going to put protection and honor, in your home. It's going to bless your home. When you are in a God-centered relationship and God's hand is in it, then you really can get through anything. Marriage is not easy. It's never perfect. There's always going to be problems. You might have financial problems. You might have, God forbid, there might be an addiction problem or, adultery. But when you both have a heart for God, because sometimes, faith can be a roller coaster. It really can. There can be things that pull you away from God, especially when you're not in a God-centered relationship. But even when you are in a God-centered relationship, things can pull you apart from God. So, when you have the foundation there, God is always going to protect and honor your relationship. If you can come together, and especially through prayer, then God can get you through anything. I just know, like, speaking from experience and just seeing some of my family members or friends getting married. These are God-filled people who have a heart for God, and then they end up marrying maybe the person that God did not have for them. And I just see such misery in their lives. I see, one couple who ends up seeking out God and who's in church and trying to raise a family, but then you have, your spouse who's not into that and kind of just lives life however they want to live. And then it just creates confusion in your home with your children, the way that you raise your children and what your children believe. I know that in the past, in relationships that I have been in with unbelievers, it really pulled me away from God. And when you're dealing with someone who is not of God and not covered, Satan can really use that person to get to you. So you really have to be careful who you let in your space, let alone, having, this is something that we're not supposed to do, but many of us do still as Christians, as single Christians, is, developing those soul ties through, sexual intercourse. That's another thing that you have to be worrisome of is, protecting yourself, because when you are opening yourself up to someone on an intimate level, physically, then you are exposing your soul to that person, and those souls connect. So whatever is on that person can ultimately jump on you. And I know a lot of people don't like to think of these things, or maybe not even believe it to be true, but it's true. It definitely is true. I'm going to stop the video for now. I just wanted to just kind of give like an intro into this. I think that I want to continue this like on a later date, and maybe discuss some other topic regarding being in an equally yoked relationship.